Welcome. Today, we delve into the democratic vector field, a comprehensive framework for analyzing the complex socio-political dynamics of modern India. We will explore how social identities, institutional systems, and civic friction interact to shape the trajectory of the world's largest democracy. To understand Indian politics, we break it down into three intersecting forces. First, identity and demographics, the socio-cultural fabric encompassing caste, religion, class, ethnicity, language, and gender that defines the electorate. Second, institutional mechanics, the constitutional and electoral machinery, including political parties and voting behavior, that converts identity into real power. And third, civic action and friction, the forces of resistance, civil society, social movements, and conflict zones that hold the state accountable. The dynamic interplay among these three forces determines both the trajectory and the stability of the Indian state. Let's look at how society stratifies along two major axes, caste and class. Basis of membership, caste is an ascriptive, closed system determined at birth. Class is an open system defined by economic standing and merit. Geographic dominance, caste dynamics dominate rural society, whereas class exerts a stronger influence in urban areas. Mutual competition, caste features low intra-group competition due to kinship bonds, whereas class exhibits high mutual competition. Political role, historically, caste acts as a decisive traditional vote bank. Class, on the other hand, shapes specific policy decisions, like balancing tax exemptions against subsidies. Caste politicization in India is a double-edged sword. At the center of this shift was the 1979 Mandal Commission, which permanently solidified caste as a primary axis of electoral strategy. On the negative side, it creates negative friction, often replacing merit-based selection with caste appeasement, fueling societal deadlock, caste-based violence, and marginalizing smaller minority castes. However, as political scientists like Rajni, Kothari and Lloyd and Suzanne Rudolph argued, it also drives positive democratization. By acting as a pressure group, caste politicization deepens democracy, transfers power to historically backward classes, and forces governments to deliver public goods to secure large vote banks. Religion in Indian politics operates as a continuous feedback loop driven by four interconnected stages: underlying vulnerabilities, economic backwardness among minorities, and historical traumas like partition create fertile ground. Institutional catalysts, political actors leverage pseudo-secularism, professing secular values while building opportunistic religious alliances. Electoral weaponization, the first-past-the-post electoral system incentivizes political parties to consolidate religious communities into monolithic vote banks. Societal friction, this leads to hyper-nationalism, polarized media narratives, and religious extremism, which ultimately reinforces original vulnerabilities and resets the cycle. Regionalism often evolves through what we call the Bhumiputra, or son of the soil, funnel. At the top is a broad ethnic identity based on shared language, culture, or geography, such as Dravidian identity or Northeast tribal cultures. This condenses into political organization, where regional parties and student groups form to protect local resources, for example, the Assam Gana Parishad. At the narrowest point lies the Bhumiputra principle or extremism, the belief that only native citizens hold rights to local resources and employment, which can escalate into violent conflicts against perceived outsiders or give rise to insurgent groups. Language has long been a significant fault line in Indian federalism. Following the 1956 reorganization of states along linguistic lines, clear tensions emerged between the Hindi-speaking North and the non-Hindi South, prompting strong anti-Hindi political movements, such as the DMK in Tamil Nadu. To manage this friction, the state instituted the three-language formula. In Hindi-speaking regions, students learn Hindi, English, and a modern South Indian language. In non-Hindi regions, students learn their local mother tongue, English, and Hindi. The crucial policy takeaway: Hindi is structured as an administrative link language, not an imposed national language. Gender equality in India requires an intersectional approach across three core domains. In the political sphere, challenges like Sarpanchpati, where men rule behind elected women, are actively countered by the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments, which mandate a minimum 33% reservation for women in local governance. In the social sphere, patriarchal norms are challenged through civil action and legal milestones, such as the 2017 Supreme Court decision invalidating instant triple talaq. In the economic sphere, legislative interventions like the Maternity Benefit Amendment Act, providing 26 weeks of paid leave, address financial exclusion and unpaid labor. True empowerment is realized only where these three spheres overlap. The structure of political competition in India has evolved across four distinct historical phases. Phase 1, 1950 to 1967, the Congress system. Defined by single-party dominance under an umbrella, Rainbow Party, that absorbed diverse ideological factions. Phase 2, 1967 to 1977, opposition emergence. The rise of non-Congress governments across 9 key states marked the beginning of true competitive politics. Phase 3, 1977 to 1989, fragmentation or the Teen Megasecond. The Janata Party experiment proved a non-Congress center was possible. This era was dominated by 3M, politics, Mandir, Mandal, and market. Phase 4, 1989 to present, coalition or by-alliance era. Regional parties became crucial kingmakers, culminating in today's bi-coalitional landscape centered around major national alliances. What drives an Indian voter at the ballot box? Voting decisions are influenced by three distinct sets of vectors: core traditional vectors, deeply rooted factors like caste loyalties, religious alignment, and familial or elder guidance. Dynamic issue vectors, immediate triggers such as party manifestos, local linguistic issues, or watershed national events, like the 1977 post-emergency election or the 1984 elections following Indira Gandhi's assassination. Modern variables, the impact of charismatic leadership wave elections, aggressive media narrative building, and the illicit influence of note for vote practices. Civil society acts as an indispensable bridge between citizens and the state. India is home to an estimated 3.1 million NGOs. Civil society fulfills three main functions: regulating power, operating as non-governmental watchdogs to keep executive power and bureaucracy in check, aggregating interests, converting scattered individual demands into organized collective bargaining power through trade unions and farmer movements. Social activism, pressuring decision makers to address social justice, environmental protection, and human rights. Civic friction manifests through two primary types of movements. Social movements aim to influence public policy without directly seeking state power. Case Study 1, the Dalit Panthers in the 1970 raised awareness against caste violence, paving the way for the landmark SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act of 1989. Case Study 2, Narmada Bachao Andolan in the 1980 highlighted the human costs of big infrastructure, directly shaping the 2003 National Resettlement Policy. Conversely, political movements aim to capture political power directly. Case Study, the Assam movement began as a student-led agitation against illegal immigration and transformed into a political party, the Assam Gana Parishad, to win election and rule the state. To understand political stability, we map out zones of socio-political friction across three levels: societal fractures, extremism, environmental degradation, and widening wealth inequality. Institutional decay, when societal friction deepens, it manifests in corruption, institutional decline, electoral system fragmentation, and media bias. Geopolitical spillover, institutional instability internally can weaken regional standing and affect relations with neighboring nations. The core synthesis: every major crisis in India is inherently socio-political. Social friction almost immediately translates into policy challenges. Despite deep diversities, linguistic tensions, and socio-political friction, India remains a democratic marvel. The ongoing friction between identity, institutional mechanics, and civic action isn't a bug in the system, it is the very engine driving India's democratization. Moving forward, sustaining this democratic tapestry relies on three clear imperatives: secularizing society to reduce identity polarization, enforcing institutional accountability and checking power, driving inclusive economic growth that reaches every stratum of society. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment if you enjoyed this quick revision.